I counted the bills again. $47. Four crumpled 20s, one five, and two singles that felt thinner than paper. I spread them across the kitchen counter, smoothing each one flat like that might somehow multiply them. Like if I stared hard enough, a miracle would crawl out from between Abraham Lincoln's face and the number five. It didn't. Miracles never came for people like me. The eviction notice stared back from where I'd taped it to the refrigerator. 6 days. The landlord's handwriting was neat, almost polite, like he wasn't about to throw a single father and his sick kid onto the street in the middle of November. $900 for rent, $250 in late fees. The numbers blurred together into something impossible. I folded the money and shoved it into my jacket pocket. Outside, thunder cracked so hard the windows rattled. Rain hammered against the glass like fists trying to break through. Seattle had seen bad storms before, but this one felt personal, angry, the kind of weather that made you wonder if the sky was trying to drown the whole city. I opened the kitchen cabinet, one packet of instant noodles, half a jar of peanut butter, a can of soup I'd been saving for emergencies, except every day felt like an emergency now. My stomach twisted, but I ignored it. I'd gotten good at ignoring hunger over the past 3 months. The lights flickered. I held my breath and counted. 1, 2, 3. The bulb steadied, throwing weak yellow light across the cramped kitchen. The electric bill was 2 weeks overdue. If the power cut out, I'd lose the space heater in Siwoo's room. The apartment's heat had been shut off last week. From the bedroom, I heard coughing. Small, wet, the kind that sounded like it hurt. I moved fast, crossing the tiny living room in 4 steps. Siwoo lay curled under 2 blankets, his face flushed red even in the dim light. 5 years old. Dark hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. His eyes were closed, but his breathing came too quick, too shallow. I pressed my hand to his forehead. Hot. Too hot. "Papa," he whispered, half asleep. My chest tightened. He always called for me like this when the fever climbed. Soft. Desperate. Like I was the only solid thing in a world that kept trying to burn him away. His father had left us when he was 2. An alpha who'd claimed me in the heat of the moment, literally, and regretted it the second he sobered up. He couldn't handle being tied to an omega with nothing to offer. No family, no money, no connections. Just a baby he hadn't wanted and a bond that felt like a chain around his neck. So he ran, and I became everything Siwoo needed. "I'm here," I said softly, brushing his hair back. "You're okay." He whimpered and pressed closer to my hand. I pulled the fever reducer from the nightstand drawer. 3 pills left. 3. The bottle had cost $40 2 weeks ago, and I'd stretched it as far as I could. After these were gone, I'd have nothing. I gave him one with a sip of water. He swallowed without opening his eyes. The suppressants sat next to the fever medicine. Little white pills in an orange bottle with my name printed across the label. Expiration date, 8 months ago. I'd been rationing them since I lost my job, taking half doses, then quarter doses, trying to make them last. But expired suppressants were worse than nothing. They fooled your body into thinking you were safe when you weren't. I could feel it already, the heat creeping under my skin, the way scents hit sharper than they should, the ache low in my stomach that I'd been ignoring for weeks. I took half a pill anyway. If my heat broke now, I'd lose everything. Omegas in heat couldn't work, couldn't think, couldn't protect their children, and I had 6 days to come up with more than $1,000 or we'd be on the street. Thunder boomed again, closer this time. I tucked the blankets tighter around Siwoo and stood. My legs felt unsteady. I hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. The peanut butter jar called to me from the kitchen, but if I ate now, there'd be nothing for Siwoo tomorrow. I walked back to the living room and sank onto the couch. The springs groaned under my weight. This apartment was falling apart. Water stains spread across the ceiling like bruises. The walls were thin enough that I could hear the couple next door fighting. Mold grew in the corners, no matter how many times I scrubbed it away. But it was ours, the only home Siwoo had ever known. I pulled my jacket tighter, 2 sweaters underneath, and I was still freezing. My phone buzzed. I didn't need to check it. Automated reminders, overdue bills, Job applications I'd sent out 3 weeks ago with no response. I'd worked as a nurse for 4 years before the hospital made cuts. Budget issues, they'd said. Last hired, first fired. It didn't matter that I'd never been late. Didn't matter that patients asked for me by name. I had no connections, no family to vouch for me, no alpha to make calls on my behalf. Just me and Siwoo and $47. The knock came at midnight. 3 sharp raps against the door. I jerked upright, heart slamming into my throat. Nobody knocked at midnight. Not here. Not in this neighborhood where gunshots echoed twice a week and people disappeared without anyone asking questions. Another knock. Harder. I stood slowly, every muscle tense. Through the peephole, I saw them. 2 men. Tall. Soaked through. Rain dripping from dark hair onto faces sharp with exhaustion. One had blood smeared across his jacket sleeve. The other cradled his side like something hurt bad. Between them, a dog. Medium-sized. Shaking. Limping. The taller one looked up. In his eyes found the peephole like he knew I was watching. "Please," and he said, his voice cracked. "We need help." Every cell in my body screamed danger. Midnight. Storm. Blood. Strangers. But the dog whined, soft and broken. And I was a nurse. My hand moved to the lock before my brain caught up. The door opened. Their scents hit me first. Cedarwood. Smoke. Winter rain and steel. Alpha. Both of them. My omega instincts flared so sharp I nearly staggered. The dog limped past me straight into the apartment, straight to Siwoo's room. "I'm sorry," the one with blood on his sleeve said. "We didn't know where else." He stopped, his eyes widened. Behind him, his companion went rigid. They caught my scent. The words echoed in my head, but my body already knew. The way the taller one's nostrils flared, the way his companion's shoulders went rigid, like every muscle had locked down at once. The air between us felt charged, dangerous, like touching it might burn. I should have slammed the door, should have screamed for help, called the police, done anything except stand there with my hand still on the doorknob while 2 strange alphas stared at me like I was something they hadn't expected to find. But I didn't move. Neither did they. Rain pounded the pavement behind them. Thunder rolled. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. The sounds felt distant, muffled, like the whole world had narrowed down to this doorway and the 3 of us trapped inside it. The injured one opened his mouth, closed it, his hand pressed tighter against his ribs. "Inside," I heard myself say. "Now, before someone sees you. It's not safe here." I didn't wait for them to argue. I stepped back, pulling the door wider. They hesitated for half a second, then moved. Fast, silent, like they'd done this before. The door clicked shut, the lock turned, and suddenly my apartment felt smaller than it ever had. They stood in my living room, dripping rainwater onto the worn carpet. Both of them were tall, taller than me by half a head at least, broad-shouldered, the kind of build that came from hard work or harder fighting. Dark hair plastered to their heads, clothes soaked through and stained with mud and something darker. Blood. My nurse training kicked in before fear could catch up. "Sit," I said, pointing to the couch. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Both of you, now." The taller one blinked, like he wasn't used to being told what to do, especially not by an Omega. "You're bleeding," I added, sharper this time. "Sit down or pass out. Your choice." That got them moving. They sank onto the couch, springs groaning under their weight. I crossed to Siwoo's room and stopped in the doorway. The dog lay curled against my son's side. Siwoo's small hand rested on the animal's damp fur. His face looked calmer than it had all day, less flushed. The dog's eyes tracked me, but it didn't move. Didn't growl, just watched. Something in my chest twisted. I pulled Siwoo's door halfway closed and went back to the living room. The alphas sat exactly where I'd left them. Tense, alert, like they were ready to bolt at any second. "Jackets off," I said. The injured one shrugged out of his first. Black leather, torn at the shoulder. When it hit the floor, I saw the wound. A gash across his ribs, jagged and deep. Someone had tried to bandage it, but the cloth was soaked through. Red seeped down his side, staining his shirt. The taller one moved slower. His jacket sleeve stuck to his arm. When he peeled it away, I saw why. Gunshot, not deep. The bullet had grazed his shoulder, tearing through skin and muscle but missing bone. Fresh, maybe a few hours old, still bleeding in slow, steady drips. My hands moved on autopilot. I grabbed the first aid kit from under the sink. It wasn't much. Gauze, tape, a bottle of antiseptic that had expired 6 months ago. But it was all I had. I knelt in front of the one with the knife wound first. Up close, his scent hit harder. Cedar wood and smoke. It crawled under my skin, made my pulse kick faster. I forced myself to focus. "This is going to hurt," I said. He didn't flinch when I pressed the antiseptic-soaked cloth against the wound. Didn't make a sound. Just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, breathing slow and controlled. Alpha. I wrapped the gauze around his ribs, pulling it snug. My fingers brushed his skin. Warm. Too warm. Fever starting, maybe. Infection trying to take hold. "You need antibiotics," I said quietly. "This won't hold long without them." "I know." His voice was rough, low, the kind that vibrated in your chest when you heard it. I tied off the bandage and moved to the other one. The gunshot wound wasn't as bad, but it still needed cleaning. I worked in silence, wiping away blood, applying pressure, wrapping his shoulder. He watched me the whole time, eyes dark, unreadable. When I finished, I sat back on my heels. "Names," I said. Not a question, a demand. The one with the knife wound spoke first. "Kyle." The other one hesitated, then, "Tayo." "Eugen," I said. "My son is Siwoo." Kyle's gaze flicked toward the bedroom door. "The dog won't hurt him." "I know." I didn't know how I knew, but I did. I stood and went to the kitchen. The instant noodles sat on the counter where I'd left them. One packet. Enough for Siwoo's breakfast tomorrow if I stretched it. But I filled a pot with water and set it on the stove. Behind me, Tayo shifted. "You don't have to." "I already ate," I lied. Silence. I didn't turn around, but I felt their eyes on me. Felt them taking in the bare cabinet, the eviction notice, the $47 I'd left on the counter. They knew I was lying. The water boiled. I dumped the noodles in, waited 3 minutes, then divided it into 2 bowls. I set them on the coffee table in front of Kale and Tayo. "Eat." Cal picked up the bowl, stared at it, then at me. "When did you last eat?" he asked. "That's not your concern." "It is now." Something in his voice made my throat tighten. I looked away. Tayo reached for his jacket, pulled something from the inside pocket. A wallet. He opened it, and I saw cash. A lot of cash. "We can pay," he started. "I don't want your money." "Then why did you help us?" I didn't have an answer for that. Or maybe I did, and I didn't want to say it out loud. "Because you needed help. Because I'm a nurse. Because that dog was fragile, and he looked at my son like he mattered. Because I'm tired of being alone." Teo set the wallet on the table, started to put his jacket back on. That's when I saw it. A piece of paper, folded. Sticking out of the inner pocket. My hand moved before I could stop it. I pulled the paper free, unfolded it. A face stared back at me. Kale's face. And beside it, Tayo's. "Wanted, armed, and dangerous. Approach with extreme caution." The paper slipped from my fingers. I looked up. Both of them were watching me. The poster lay on the floor between us. 2 faces. 2 names. 2 men sitting on my couch watching me like they were waiting for the verdict. My heart slammed against my ribs. Every instinct I had screamed the same thing. Run. Grab Siwoo. Lock yourself in the bathroom. Call the police. But my feet wouldn't move. "We're not what they say we are." Tayo's voice cut through the silence. Quiet. Careful. Kyle turned on him. "Don't. He deserves. He doesn't owe us anything." Kyle's jaw tightened. His eyes found mine. Dark. Unflinching. "You want us gone? We'll go." I opened my mouth. Closed it. My throat felt too tight to speak. They were fugitives. Criminals. Wanted by the police for something bad enough to warrant that poster. Bad enough for guns and blood and running through the rain in the middle of the night. And I'd let them into my home. Fed them. Bandaged their wounds. Let their dog sleep beside my son. Leave. The word came out shaky. I forced it steadier. Now, I won't call anyone. Just go. Kyle stood. Tayo followed. Both of them moved slowly, like they didn't want to spook me, like I was the dangerous one. Maybe I was. Maybe opening that door had been the most dangerous thing I'd ever done. Kale bent to pick up his jacket. Tayo reached for the poster. That's when the dog started barking. Sharp, aggressive. The kind of bark that meant threat, not play. It came from Siwoo's room, loud enough to make my pulse spike. All three of us froze. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple people. In the hallway outside my door, they stopped right outside. Kel and Tayo moved without a sound, positioned themselves between me and the door. Their bodies shifted into something different, something lethal. Shoulders squared, weight balanced, ready. Someone tried the doorknob. It rattled, once, twice, testing the lock. My breath caught in my throat. A voice came through the door, deep, casual. Building inspection. Open up. Building inspection. At midnight. In a building that hadn't seen an inspection in 5 years. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Tayo turned his head just enough to look at me. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. They followed us here. Who? If you open that door, Kyle cut in, his voice like steel, you're dead too. The banging started, harder this time, fist against wood. We know someone's in there. From Siwoo's room, I heard crying, small, scared. Papa? Everything in me screamed to go to him, but my legs felt like lead. My hands shook. Kale's eyes met mine. Do you trust us? I don't even know you. Then trust your instincts. His voice softened, just barely. You opened the door once. You saw something in us worth saving. Was it real or not? I looked at him, at Tayo, at two men who could be killers, could be monsters, could be exactly what that poster said they were. But I remembered the way Kale had sat perfectly still while I cleaned his wound, the way Tayo had asked when I'd last eaten, the way their dog had curled up next to my son like it knew he needed protecting. The banging got louder. Last chance. Open the door or we break it down. I made my choice. I moved toward Siwoo's room. Stopped. Turned back. Stay quiet, I whispered. Kyle and Tayo melted into the shadows beside the door. I couldn't see them anymore. Couldn't hear them. Like they'd vanished. I went to Siwoo first. He was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down his face. The dog stood between him and the door, hackles raised, teeth bared. Shh. I scooped Siwoo into my arms. It's okay. Papa's here. He buried his face in my neck. His whole body trembled. I carried him back to the living room, set him on the couch, pulled a blanket over him. Don't move, Iwan, I said. No matter what happens, stay here. He nodded, too scared to argue. I walked to the door. My hand touched the knob, cold metal against my palm. One breath, two. I opened it, just a crack. 3 men stood in the hallway. No uniforms, dark clothes, expensive jackets. The kind that didn't belong in a building like this. The one in front smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Sorry to bother you so late. His voice was smooth, polite, wrong. We're looking for 2 fugitives, armed and dangerous. Have you seen anyone suspicious tonight? My mouth went dry. No. The lie tasted like copper. I haven't seen anyone. The man's smile widened. His eyes swept past me, taking in the apartment, the couch, the blanket-covered lump that was Siwoo. You're sure? 2 men, 1 injured, might have had a dog with them. My heart stopped. They knew about the dog. I'm alone, I said, steadier this time. Just me and my son. He's sick, fever. I was trying to get him to sleep when you knocked. The man studied me. His gaze dragged down, then back up, lingering. Omega, he said. Not a question, an observation. Something cold slid down my spine. Yes. Living alone? That's dangerous. He leaned closer. I smelled cologne. Too strong. Especially in a neighborhood like this. I didn't answer. His hand moved to the door, pushing gently. testing how wide I'd let it open. Mind if we take a look inside? Just to be safe. Every muscle in my body locked. I do mind. My voice came out flat. My son is sleeping. You have no warrant, no badge, and building inspections don't happen at midnight. The smile finally dropped. You're making a mistake. Maybe. I met his eyes. But it's my mistake to make. His hand pressed harder against the door. I pushed back. For 3 seconds, we stood there. Him trying to force his way in. Me holding the line. Then he stepped back. We'll be watching, he said. Quiet, dangerous. If you're hiding something, we'll find out. He turned. So be sure. Other two followed. I watched them walk down the hall, listened to their footsteps fade, waited until I heard the stairwell door slam. Then I closed my door, locked it, slid the chain into place. My legs gave out. I sank to the floor, back against the door, breathing too fast. Kyle and Tayo emerged from the shadows, silent, their faces grim. They'll come back, Tayo said. I looked up at him, at both of them. Who were they? Kyle's expression darkened. The people who want us dead. I couldn't breathe. My back pressed against the door. My hands shook. The adrenaline that had carried me through the last 5 minutes drained out all at once, leaving nothing but cold fear in its place. I just lied to dangerous men, put myself between my son and people who carried guns like it was normal. Made myself a target for 2 fugitives I didn't even know. Tell me the truth. My voice came out rough, angry. All of it, now. Kale and Tayo stood in my living room like shadows, silent, watching me with those dark, unreadable eyes. We don't have time, Tayo started. Make time. I pushed off the door, stood. My legs felt weak, but I forced them steady. You brought those men to my door, to my son. You owe me answers. Kyle's jaw tightened. He looked at Tayo. Some silent conversation passed between them. Then Tayo nodded. We were framed, Tayo said. Quiet, controlled. For a murder we didn't commit. Whose murder? An alpha named Jihoon Park. He was second in command of the Hanul pack. Tayo's hands clenched into fists at his sides. Someone killed him. Made it look like we did it. Why you? Because we were there when it happened. Kyle's voice cut in, hard. Wrong place, wrong time. And we had a history with Jihoon. Old grudges. It was easy to pin it on us. I stared at them. The dog. Saw everything. Kyle glanced toward Siwoo's room. He was Jihoon's dog. Loyal to him. But when Jihoon died, the dog wouldn't leave our side. Wouldn't go back to the pack. Because he knows we didn't do it. And the people who actually killed him want the dog dead. Tayo's expression darkened. And us with him. Who? Tayo met my eyes. Demon Choi, the new pack leader. The name meant nothing to me, but the way Tayo said it made my skin crawl. Outside, I heard an engine. Low. Idling. Kyle moved to the window. Pulled the curtain back. Just enough to see. His face went tight. They're still there. He let the curtain drop. Black SUV. 3 men inside, watching the building. My stomach dropped. We're trapped. Yes. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Final. I wanted to scream. Wanted to throw them out. Wanted to go back in time and never open that door. But it was too late for that. You brought them here, I said. My voice shook. To my son. We didn't know. Guilt bled through Tayo's voice. We thought we'd lost them blocks ago. If we'd known, you would have what? Kept running? Found some other poor fool to drag into this? Tayo flinched. Kyle didn't. He just looked at me. Steady, unflinching. You want us gone, I get it. But if we leave now, they'll know you helped us. They'll come back. And next time, we won't be here to stop them. You think you're protecting me? I think you're already in this whether you like it or not. I hated that he was right. From the couch, Siwoo coughed, small, wet. The sound cut through everything else. I moved before I could think, crossed the room, pressed my hand to his forehead, burning. His skin felt like fire under my palm. Too hot, way too hot. Siwoo, I shook him gently. Hey, Look at me. His eyes opened, glassy, unfocused. Papa, he whispered, hurts. I grabbed the fever reducer from the coffee table. 3 pills left. I'd given him one earlier. These wouldn't be enough. Not for a fever this high. Panic clawed up my throat. I couldn't leave. Couldn't go to the pharmacy. Couldn't take him to the hospital. Not with those men outside, not without putting him in more danger. He needs medicine. My hands shook as I touched Siwoo's face. Stronger than this. His fever's too high. Kyle moved closer, looked down at Siwoo. His expression shifted. Something I couldn't read. Tayo can go. His voice was quiet, certain. He's faster. Tell him what you need. I looked up. You want me to trust him with my son's life? You already trusted us enough to lie for us. Cal's eyes met mine. Might as well go all in. Tayo was already moving toward the door. I'll go through the back. Fire escape. They won't see me. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to do this, not to rely on strangers, not to let them deeper into my life. But Siwoo whimpered, and I didn't have a choice. I grabbed a pen, scribbled the medication name on a scrap of paper, pulled the $47 from my pocket and held it out. Tayo pushed my hand back. Gently. Keep it. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. His voice softened. It's paying back a debt. You saved our lives tonight. Let me save your sons. He was gone before I could argue, slipping out the window, down the fire escape, into the dark. And then it was just me and Kyle. The apartment felt smaller, quieter. I could hear every breath he took, every shift of his weight. He sat on the floor, not on the couch, not close to Siwoo, keeping distance. But his eyes never left my son, protective. The dog crawled out from under the couch, pressed against Siwoo's side. His hand found the animal's fur without opening his eyes. I sank into the chair across from them. My body felt wrong, too warm, too sensitive. The expired suppressants weren't holding anymore. I could feel it, the heat, creeping closer. Kyle tensed, his nostrils flared, just slightly. He'd caught the scent change. I looked away, pulled my jacket tighter, like that would help. When did you last have working suppressants? His voice was careful, controlled. 8 months ago. Silence. You can't afford them. It wasn't a question. No. More silence. Heavy, uncomfortable. That's why you opened the door, Kale said. Quiet. You recognized desperation when you saw it. I didn't answer. 20 minutes passed. Then 25. Tayo wasn't back yet. My anxiety climbed with every second. What if they'd caught him? What if he wasn't coming back? What if I'd just trusted a fugitive with my money and my son's life and... Siwoo's body went rigid. His back arched. His eyes rolled back. Seizure. Kyle! I screamed his name without thinking. Lunged for my son. Kyle was faster. He moved like he'd done this 100 times. Turned Siwoo on his side. Supported his head. Kept him from hurting himself. Time it, he said. Calm, steady. Count the seconds. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Eugen, count. My mouth formed numbers. 1, 2, 3. Cal's hands were gentle, careful, like Siwoo was made of glass. Like he'd held a seizing child before. The seizure lasted 40 seconds. Felt like 40 years. When it stopped, Siwoo went limp, breathing shallow, still burning with fever. I pulled him into my arms, held him too tight. My whole body shook. Kale sat back, didn't move away, just watched. You've done that before, I whispered. His expression cracked, just for a second, just enough for me to see the pain underneath. Yeah, he said, voice rough. I have. And I realized these men weren't just fugitives. They were fathers too. 30 minutes. Tayo had been gone for 30 minutes. He'd said 20. I sat on the floor beside the couch, one hand pressed to Siwoo's forehead. Still burning, still too hot. The seizure had drained what little strength he had left, and now he lay there barely breathing. Skin flushed red, lips cracked and dry. The medicine. We needed that medicine. Kyle stood at the window. He'd been there for the last 10 minutes, staring down at the street through a gap in the curtain. His shoulders were rigid, his jaw tight. "Anything?" I asked. "No." The dog paced, back and forth across the living room, restless, whining low in its throat. It knew something was wrong. So did I. "He should be back by now." My voice came out rough, scared. Kyle didn't answer. "Kyle." "I know. Something happened. I know." He turned from the window. His face looked carved from stone, but his eyes gave him away. Fear, raw and sharp. "I'll go look for him," he said. I stood. "You step outside, those men will see you." "I don't care." "I do." I moved between him and the door. "You leave, we're all dead. You, me, Siwoo, and Tayo too if he's still out there." Kyle's hands clenched into fists. "So what do we do? Just wait?" "We don't have another choice." Siwoo coughed, violent, wet. His whole body shook with it. I dropped back to the floor beside him, checked his pulse. Too faint, too weak. "He's getting worse," I whispered. Kyle knelt beside me. His hand hovered over Siwoo's forehead like he wanted to help but didn't know how. "If he seizes again—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "He won't." "You don't know that." "I do." Kyle's voice went quiet, broken. "I've seen it before." I looked at him, at the pain carved into his face. "Your daughter," I said. He nodded once. Sharp, like the word hurt. We sat in silence. Two people with everything to lose and no way to save any of it. Then Cal's phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket, looked at the screen, went completely still. "What?" I asked. He turned the phone toward me. Unknown number, a photo, and below it, a message. The photo showed Tayo on his knees, hands behind his back, blood running down the side of his face, a gun pressed to the back of his head. The message read, "Come down or he dies. You have 5 minutes." My stomach dropped. "No." The word barely made it out. "No, no, no." This was my fault. I'd sent him out there. I'd trusted him with my money and my son's life, and now he was going to die because of me. Cal stood, moving toward the door. I grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" "What I have to. You go down there, you both die. He's my brother." Cal's voice cracked. "I can't just—" Another buzz. 4 minutes. "Cal, please." I held on tighter. "Think. They want you to come down. That's the trap. You walk out there. They kill you both. So I do nothing?" He yanked his arm free. "I just let him die?" "I didn't say that." "Then what?" I didn't have an answer. Siwoo coughed again, harder this time. His back arched, eyes rolling. "Not again. Please, not again." The dog stopped pacing. Its head snapped toward the fire escape window. Ears up. Hackles raised. A low growl rumbled from its chest. I followed its gaze. Something moved outside the window. A shadow. Climbing up the fire escape. Cal saw it too. His hand moved to his back. When it came forward, there was a gun in it. I hadn't known he was armed. "Get back," he said. I pulled Siwoo closer, shielded him with my body. The shadow reached the window. Fingers curled around the frame. Kyle aimed. The window slid open. A figure tumbled through. Hit the floor hard, gasping. Tayo. Blood soaked through his shirt. Fresh cuts across his face. One eye swollen shut. But he was alive. And he was clutching the medicine bag. I lunged forward, dropped to my knees beside him. "The photo," I started. "Escaped." He could barely get the word out. "Barely." He shoved the bag into my hands. "Give it to him. Now." I didn't argue. Tore open the bag, found the bottle, children's liquid fever reducer, the right kind, the right dose. My hands shook so bad I almost dropped it. I measured out the medicine, lifted Siwoo's head, pressed the dropper to his lips. "Come on, baby, swallow, please." He did, barely, but enough. I gave him the full dose, set the bottle down, held him close. Behind me, Cal dragged Tayo away from the window, pressed his hand to a wound on Tayo's side that was bleeding too much. "How many?" Kyle's voice was hard, controlled. "6. Tayo winced. "Maybe more." "Where?" "Coming up." As if on cue, something slammed into the door. Once. Twice. A voice shouted from the hallway. loud, commanding. "We know you're in there. Open this door or we tear it down." Another slam. The door shook in its frame. I looked at Kale holding his brother, at Tayo bleeding onto my floor, at Siwoo barely breathing in. My arms, there was no way out. We were trapped. The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed everything. Total. Complete. I couldn't see my own hands. From outside, someone shouted, confused. The pounding stopped. Then glass shattered. Not the door. The window behind us. Something crashed through. Heavy. Fast. I heard the dog snarl. Heard Kale move. Heard Teo curse. And in the darkness, I felt hands grab me. Hands grabbed me in the dark. I fought on instinct. Kicking. Twisting. Clutching Siwoo tighter against my chest. "Don't!" A voice in my ear. Low. Urgent. "It's me. Kyle." He pulled me backward. Away from the shattered window. Away from whatever had crashed through. Gunshots exploded in the living room. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness in bursts. I caught glimpses. Tayo on the floor. The dog snarling. Shapes moving. Too many shapes. Cal shoved me through a doorway. The bathroom. He slammed the door and locked it. Then he was gone. I pressed my back against the sink. Siwoo limp in my arms. The darkness was total. Suffocating. Outside, the fighting continued. Gunshots. Shouts. Something heavy hitting the floor. I covered Siwoo's ears. Like that would protect him. Like anything could protect him from this. More gunshots. Closer. Right outside the door. Then silence. Complete. Terrifying silence. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming toward the bathroom. I backed into the corner. Held Siwoo tighter. There was nowhere to go. No window. No escape. The door handle rattled. Someone testing the lock. My breath caught in my throat. "Eugen!" A voice came through the door. "It's over. Open up!" "Kyle." I hesitated. My hands shook as I reached for the lock. What if it wasn't him? What if someone was forcing him to say it? "Eugen, please." I unlocked the door. Opened it slowly. Emergency lights from the hallway cast a dim glow into the apartment. Just enough to see. Kyle stood there. Blood on his hands, gun at his side. Exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Behind him, the living room was destroyed. Shattered glass everywhere. Curtains shredded. 3 bodies on the floor, not moving. I looked away. Tayo leaned against the wall, his shirt soaked through with blood. But he was breathing. Alive. The dog pressed against his leg. Protective. "Are you hurt?" Cal's voice pulled my attention back. I shook my head, couldn't speak. In my arms, Siwoo stirred. His eyes opened, clearer than they'd been in hours. He looked around, confused. "Papa?" The word broke something inside me. I pulled him closer. Tears I didn't know I'd been holding spilled down my face. He was okay. The fever had broken. He was okay. Kyle stepped closer. His hand reached out, hesitated, hovered near Siwoo's forehead. I didn't pull away. His fingers touched my son's skin, gentle, checking the temperature. "He's okay," Kale said quietly. I nodded, still couldn't speak. Tayo pushed off the wall, winced. "We need to move. More will come." The reality hit me all at once. My apartment. The only home Siwoo had ever known. Blood on the carpet, bodies on the floor. Police would come. Questions I couldn't answer. We couldn't stay here. "Where do we go?" My voice came out small. Lost. Cal's hand moved from Siwoo to my shoulder. "Somewhere safe, I promise." I believed him. I didn't know why, but I did. We gathered what little we could. I grabbed the medicine bottle. The $47. Nothing else mattered. The dog led us to the fire escape. We couldn't use the front door. Too dangerous. Kyle went first, then me with Siwoo. Tayo brought up the rear, moving slower than the rest of us. I looked back once. At the broken window, the ruined apartment, everything I'd worked for. Gone. "Don't look back," Cal said from below me. "Only forward." We reached the alley. Rain still fell, cold and relentless. A car waited. Old sedan. Engine running. Tayo must have arranged it before he came back. We piled in, Cal behind the wheel. Tayo in the passenger seat, pressing his hand to his side. Me in the back with Siwoo. The dog squeezed between us. Kyle pulled out of the alley. Behind us, sirens wailed, getting closer, heading toward my building. Siwoo's head dropped against my shoulder. His breathing evened out. The fever was gone. He was sleeping. Really sleeping. Not unconscious, not seizing. Safe. For now. The car was quiet except for the rain hammering the roof. The windshield wipers beat a steady rhythm. And then I felt it. The heat. It had been creeping up on me for hours, days, weeks, the expired suppressants holding it back by sheer force of will. But there was nothing left to hold it back now. The warmth spread through my body, starting low, radiating out. My skin felt too tight, too sensitive. Every breath came harder. My scent changed. I knew it did. Could feel it blooming in the enclosed space. Sweet, heavy, unmistakable. Omega in heat. Cal's hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles going white. Tayo went rigid in the passenger seat, his shoulders tensed, jaw clenched. Neither of them spoke, neither did I. What was there to say? The silence stretched, thick, suffocating. I tried to control my breathing, tried to will the heat back down, but it was too late. My body had made its decision. Cal turned off the main road, pulled into a parking lot. Abandoned. Motel. Half the letters on the sign burned out. Paint peeling. Middle of nowhere. Perfect for hiding. He put the car in park, turned off the engine. The silence got heavier. Cale's eyes found mine in the rearview mirror. "Your heat's breaking," he said, voice rough, controlled. "We can smell it." I didn't deny it. "You need to decide right now." His gaze held mine, steady, unflinching. "Do you trust us enough to ride it out together?" My breath caught. "Or do we get you a room alone and leave?" Tayo turned in his seat, looked back at me. His eyes were darker than I'd ever seen them, but there was something else there too. Control, restraint, waiting for my answer. Siwoo slept against my shoulder, trusting, safe. The dog pressed against my other side, warm, protective. Two alphas I barely knew, two fugitives, two men who'd killed to protect us, two men offering me a choice when they could have just taken. I looked at Kale, at Tayo, at the question in their eyes. Did I trust them? I thought about the way Kale had held Siwoo during the seizure, the way Tayo had fought his way back with the medicine, the way they'd put themselves between us and danger without hesitation, the way they were giving me a choice even now, even when their instincts must be screaming at them to claim. My voice came out steady. Together. The word hung in the air between us. Together. Kel's eyes held mine in the rearview mirror for 3 seconds. Then he nodded once and turned back to the road. Put the car in drive. Pulled out of the motel parking lot. "We need to drop Siwoo somewhere safe first." His voice was steady, controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath, fighting his instincts while my scent filled the car. My arms tightened around my son. He was still asleep, fever broken, breathing normal, safe for now. But not if he stayed with us. Not with what was coming. "I have a friend," I said. My voice came out rough. "Mina, she lives about 20 minutes from here. She's a beta, she'll help." "You trust her?" Tayo asked without turning around. Did I? Mina and I had worked together at the hospital. She'd been the only one who didn't treat me differently after Siwoo's father left. The only one who'd helped when I lost my job. Brought groceries a few times, offered to babysit when she could. "Yes," I said. "I trust her." Kyle took the directions I gave him. Back roads, quiet neighborhoods. The sky was shifting from black to deep blue. Dawn coming whether we were ready for it or not. The heat climbed steadily. I could feel it building under my skin like a fever that wouldn't break. Every breath brought their scents deeper into my lungs. Every minute made it harder to think straight. Tayo's shoulders were rigid, his hands clenched into fists on his thighs. Kel's jaw was tight, eyes fixed on the road like he didn't dare look at me again. We pulled onto a quiet street, small houses with neat yards. Mina's was the third one on the left. Blue shutters, white fence, A light on in the front window, even though it was barely dawn. Cal parked at the curb, turned off the engine. Nobody moved for a moment. Go, Tayo said quietly. We'll wait here. I nodded, gathered Siwoo carefully in my arms. He stirred but didn't wake. The dog whined from the floor, following as I opened the door. The cold air hit me like a slap. It helped, a little, enough to get my legs working. I walked up the path to Mina's door. The dog pressed against my leg. I shifted Siwoo's weight and knocked. Footsteps inside. The porch light flicked on. The door opened. Mina stood there in pajamas and a robe, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. Saw Siwoo unconscious in my arms. Saw the dog. Saw the car at the curb with two men sitting inside. Yujin, what? Please. The word came out desperate. I need you to watch him, just for a day, maybe two. I can't explain right now, but I will. I promise I will. Please, Mina. She looked at me, really looked. Saw something in my face that made her step back and open the door wider. Come inside. I can't. My voice cracked. I just need to know he's safe. Please. Mina's expression shifted. Understanding dawned. Her gaze flicked to the car again. To the two alphas waiting, then back to me. To the way I was trembling, the flush on my skin, the desperation in my eyes. You're in heat, she said quietly. I nodded. She didn't ask anything else. Just held out her arms. Give him to me. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to let go. But I had to. For Siwoo. To keep him safe from what was coming. I kissed his forehead, smoothed his hair back, whispered against his skin. I love you. I'll come back. I promise. Then I placed him in Mina's arms. The dog moved to follow Siwoo inside. Mina looked down at it, then at me. He won't leave Siwoo's side, I said. Please, just let him stay. She nodded. I'll keep them both safe. Go. The door closed. I stood there staring at the blue door, at the warm light glowing through the window. My son was inside, safe, protected. I turned and walked back to the car. The heat slammed into me the second I sat down, like my body had been holding everything back until Siwoo was gone, and now there was nothing left to stop it. Fire raced through my veins. My skin felt too tight, too hot, every nerve ending alive and screaming. I gasped, couldn't help it. Kyle's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. He started the engine without looking at me, pulled away from the curb faster than necessary. The drive felt endless and too short all at once. Tayo kept his eyes forward, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched every time I shifted in the back seat. The car filled with my scent, thick and sweet and impossible to ignore. Kale turned onto a highway, then off again onto a back road I didn't recognize. Trees on both sides, no lights, no other cars. Isolated. The motel appeared out of nowhere, run down, half the letters on the sign burned out, paint peeling off the walls. Perfect. Kyle went inside, came back with a key, room 12, far end of the building, away from everything. We walked there in silence. My legs barely held me. Every step sent heat pulsing through my body, pooling, low in my stomach, making it hard to breathe. Kale unlocked the door. I stepped inside. The door closed behind us with a click that sounded final. For a moment, nobody moved. We stood there in the dim room, the only light coming from a lamp by the bed. The air felt thick, charged like the moment before lightning strikes. Then Kale's controls snapped. He crossed the room in 2 steps and pulled me against him. His mouth crashed into mine, hungry and desperate, tasting like rain and something darker. His hands gripped my waist hard enough to bruise, and I didn't care. I wanted it, needed it. Teo moved behind me. I felt his chest against my back, his breath hot on my neck. His hands slid up my sides under my shirt, fingers tracing skin that felt like it was burning. Tell me to stop, Cal said against my mouth. His voice was wrecked. Tell me and I will. I couldn't. The heat had consumed every rational thought. All that existed was need and the 2 alphas surrounding me, their sense drowning me in the best way possible. Don't stop, I whispered. Clothes disappeared. I didn't know whose hands were pulling at fabric. Didn't care. Just needed skin against skin. needed to be closer, needed everything. Cal's mouth moved down my throat. His teeth grazed the sensitive spot where my neck met my shoulder, and I shuddered. Behind me, Teo's hands explored, possessive and careful all at once, like he was memorizing every inch of me. We fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs. Cal settled between my thighs, his weight pressing me into the mattress. His eyes locked on mine, dark and burning. "You're ours now," he said. Not a question, a promise. Then he pushed inside and I stopped breathing. The stretch burned. Perfect. Overwhelming. I clawed at his shoulders, gasping his name as he moved. Slow at first, letting me adjust, then harder when I begged for it. Tayo's hands never stopped touching me. My chest, my sides, my face, grounding me even as I felt like I was falling apart. When Cal finished, he pulled out carefully and Tayo took his place. Different rhythm, deeper, just as consuming. His forehead pressed against mine, breath mingling, and I felt the bond starting to form even before the bite. Something invisible threading between us, pulling tighter with every thrust. The heat built again, wave after wave crashing over me until I couldn't tell where I ended, and they began. Time lost meaning. There were only hands and mouths and the sound of my own voice breaking as I surrendered completely. At some point, Kale's teeth found my neck, the claiming bite, sharp and deep, right where the bond mark would form. Pain exploded through me, white hot and blinding. Then pleasure followed, so intense I screamed. The bond snapped into place like a cord pulled taut. I felt Kyle inside my head, his emotions flooding into mine. Guilt and need and fierce protection, and something that felt like love, even though we barely knew each other. Before I could process it, Tayo bit down on the other side of my neck. Another bond, another flood. His grief and determination and the desperate need to keep safe what was his. Two bonds, two alphas, permanent and irreversible. I shattered completely. When I came back to myself, we were tangled together on the bed, sweat-soaked and exhausted. The marks on my neck throbbed in time with my heartbeat. Sleep pulled me under before I could fight it. I woke to pale light filtering through the curtains. My body ached everywhere. The marks on my neck burned. Kyle and Tayo lay on either side of me, still asleep. Blood dried on their skin where I'd clawed them, on mine where they'd bitten, bonded. What had we done? My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it with a trembling hand. Unknown number. The photo loaded slowly. Mina's house. Taken from inside through the living room window. Below it, "We know where the child is. Turn yourselves in within 24 hours, or we take him instead." The scream that tore out of me woke them both. Kyle grabbed the phone. Read it. His face went white. He showed Tayo. Tayo stared at the photo. His jaw tightened. "That angle," he said, voice hollow. "That's from inside the house." Understanding crashed over me. Mina had seen them, recognized the wanted fugitives, and sold us out. They have my son. The thought consumed me as Kel drove, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, breaking every speed limit to get back to the city we'd barely escaped. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Siwoo, my baby, in the hands of people who killed without hesitation. The bond marks on my neck throbbed, linking me to the two men in the front seat whether I wanted it or not. I could feel their emotions bleeding into mine. Kale's grim determination, Tayo's simmering rage, and underneath it all, guilt so thick it made me sick. They knew this was their fault. So did I. But I'd opened the door. I'd let them in. I'd made the choice that put Siwoo in danger. "We'll get him back." Tayo turned in his seat, eyes meeting mine. "I swear to you, don't make promises you can't keep." My voice shook. "Just drive faster." Another message came through. Tayo opened it, read it, and his jaw tightened. "Warehouse District, 1 hour. Come alone." "I'm coming with you." "No." Cal's voice was firm. "You stay in the car. If something happens to us, if something happens to you, I don't get my son back." I leaned forward between the seats. "He's there because of me, because I trusted my friend, because I let you into my home. I'm not sitting in a car while you walk into a trap." They exchanged a look, some silent conversation I wasn't part of. Fine, Cal said finally. But you stay behind us. You don't speak unless spoken to. And if I say run, you run. I nodded, even though we both knew I wouldn't run. Not without Siwoo. The drive felt endless. Every minute stretched into an eternity. I pressed my hand against the window, watching the city blur past, and tried not to think about my son crying for me. Tried not to imagine him scared and alone. The bond kept pushing their emotions at me. I tried to block them out, but it was like trying to stop a flood with my bare hands. Their guilt crashed into my fear. Their determination tangled with my desperation. We arrived at the warehouse with minutes to spare. 5 black SUVs sat outside like predators waiting. We were walking into an execution. I got out of the car before either of them could stop me. Kyle and Tayo moved to flank me, protective even now. I let them, not because I needed protecting, because if bullets started flying, I needed a clear path to find Siwoo. The warehouse door stood open. We walked through together. Inside was mostly empty, just concrete and metal beams and shadows. But in the center, under harsh lights, a man sat at a table surrounded by armed guards. Well-dressed, confident, smiling. No sign of Siwoo. Panic clawed up my throat. Where was he? Was he even here? The man stood as we approached. His smile widened. Kyle, Tayo, right on time. His eyes slid to me, lingering on the fresh marks on my neck. And you brought your new mate. How sweet. Where's my son? The words came out sharper than I intended. Where is he? Safe. For now. The man walked around the table, casual like he had all the time in the world. I'm Demon Choi, and you must be the unfortunate Omega who opened his door to the wrong people. Where is Siwoo? I stepped forward. Kyle's hand caught my arm, holding me back. Patience. Demon's eyes gleamed. First, let's talk about why we're here. You see, these two used to be powerful, respected, feared even. Along with another alpha named Jahoon, they ran this pack. We don't care about your politics. Tayo's voice was hard. Let the child go. This is between us. Oh, but it stopped being just between us the moment you involved innocence. Damon's smile turned cruel. Jihoon was easy to kill, 1 bullet. But you two, killing you would have raised questions. So I framed you instead, destroyed your reputations, turned the pack against you. And now that you're weak and desperate, I can finally finish what I started. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward Kyle and Tayo. But first, a gift. I couldn't see what was on the screen, but I felt their reaction through the bond. Shock hit me like a physical blow, then disbelief, then hope so desperate it hurt. Both alphas went rigid. Kyle made a sound like he'd been shot. That's not possible. His voice broke completely. We saw the building burn. We searched the ruins for days. You searched for a body that was never there. Damon's voice dripped with satisfaction. I pulled her out before I set the fire, and I kept her for a day like this. She's been with me for 2 years. Calls me uncle now. Doesn't remember you at all. Their daughter. The bond flooded me with their emotions. Grief and joy and agony all tangled together. So overwhelming I couldn't breathe. You son of a... Tayo lunged forward, guns raised immediately. 12 of them, aimed at his head. Tayo froze. Damon laughed. Power brought me here, but watching you break, that's just for pleasure. He set the phone down, pulled a gun from his jacket, placed it on the table between us. Here's what's going to happen. His eyes glittered with something twisted, hungry. You're going to kill your mate, right here, right now, with your own hands. The world tilted. Do it, and I let your daughter live. I'll even release the Omega's bastard son and that witness dog. Silence crashed down, heavy, suffocating. Through the bond, I felt them fracturing, their minds breaking under an impossible choice. Their daughter, or me and Siwoo. Refuse, Demon continued, voice light with anticipation, and I kill everyone. Your daughter, your mate, his son, the dog. Slowly, and you'll watch every second before I end you. He leaned back, smile widening. I could have just ordered your deaths. But where's the fun in that? 60 seconds. Kill him and break that fresh bond screaming, or I break all of you. His eyes gleamed. Either way, I win. And I get a show. Nobody moved. I looked at the gun on the table, then at Kyle and Tayo standing beside me. Through the bond, I felt everything. Their love for their daughter, their guilt over dragging me into this, their desperate need to save everyone and knowing they couldn't. And I felt my own heart breaking, because I understood exactly what they were going through. I was a father too, and I'd do anything to save my son. Even this. I reached for the gun. My hand closed around cold metal before anyone could stop me, before I could stop myself. Through the bond, I felt everything. Kale's shock, Tayo's desperation, and underneath it all, their acceptance. They'd already made peace with dying. They just couldn't choose which death. Their daughters or mine, so I'd choose for them. Don't! Cal's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. Not hard, just enough to make me look at him. His eyes held mine. Dark, pleading. I pulled free. I came here for my son. My voice came out steadier than I felt. That's all that matters. I lifted the gun from the table. Damon's face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. Yes, finally, do it. Kyle and Tayo stood frozen. I felt their emotions crashing through the bond. Pain, guilt, and that terrible, aching acceptance. They weren't going to fight me. They'd let me kill them if it meant saving their daughter. The realization made my throat tight. I want proof first. I looked at Damon, not at the twins. I couldn't look at them. Bring my son out. Let me see he's safe. Damon considered for a moment, then smiled. Fair enough. He waved to one of the guards. Bring the child. A door opened at the back of the warehouse. A guard walked out carrying a small, sleepy figure. Si-Woo, and behind them, the dog limping but alert. Papa! Si-Woo's voice broke something inside me. His eyes found me across the warehouse. Confused, scared. He started crying and reaching for me. I dropped to my knees as the guard brought him close. Pulled my son into my arms and held him so tight I thought I might break him. Papa, why are you crying? His small hands touched my face. Because I love you. I pressed my forehead to his. So much. You're the bravest, strongest boy I know. I want to go home. Soon. The lie tasted like ash. Kyle and Tayo are going to take care of you, okay? They're going to keep you safe. Where are you going? I couldn't answer. Just held him tighter. The guard pulled Si-Woo away from me, set him down near the door with the dog pressed against his side. Far enough away, safe enough. I stood, turned to face Kale and Tayo. They stood side by side. Brothers, bonded alphas. Men who'd crashed into my life less than 2 days ago and changed everything. I raised the gun, aimed it at Kale's chest. He didn't move, didn't flinch, just looked at me with those steady, understanding eyes. It's okay, he said quietly. We know why you're doing this. Tayo closed his eyes, his hands clenched at his sides. Take care of them, he said, voice rough. Please, Si-Woo and our daughter. Just take care of them. My finger found the trigger. Through the bond, I felt everything they were feeling. Love for their daughter, gratitude that she was alive, relief that Si-Woo would be safe, and acceptance of death. No fear, no anger, just peace. Damon leaned forward in his chair, eyes glittering. Waiting for the show, I took a breath. Then I turned the gun, pointed it at my own chest instead. What are you doing? Damon's smile vanished. You wanted death. My voice came out cold, clear. Here it is, but I won't kill them for you. Both twins lunged. No! I pulled the trigger. The gunshot cracked through the warehouse like thunder, but Kyle hit me before the bullet did, tackled me sideways. The gun went off into empty air. Concrete exploded where the bullet hit the floor. We crashed down together. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. Chaos erupted. Guards started shooting. Tayo moved like lightning, taking down the closest ones before they could aim. The dog broke free from Si-Woo and went straight for Damon, snarling, teeth bared. Cal pulled me behind a concrete pillar, covered my body with his. Stay down, he growled. Bullets ricocheted off metal beams. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. I couldn't see Si-Woo. Couldn't see where they'd taken him. My son, I gasped. Where? Tayo has him. Kyle's hand pressed against my chest, checking for wounds. You're not hit. You're okay. I wasn't trying to be okay. My voice broke. I was trying to save you. By dying? His eyes blazed. You think that's what we want? To watch our mate kill himself? Better than making you choose. There is no better. His hand moved to my face. Rough. Desperate. There's only all of us surviving or none of us surviving. That's it. More gunfire. Tayo appeared beside us. Siwoo clutched in one arm, firing with his other hand. We need to move, he said. Now. Sirens wailed outside. Multiple vehicles. Doors slamming. Shouts. Damon's voice cut through the chaos. Fall back. Now. I looked around the pillar, saw him backing toward a rear exit, phone clutched in his hand. The one with his daughter's video. He caught the twins looking. Smiled. She's mine now, he shouted over the gunfire. You'll never see her again. Then he was gone. Disappeared. Through the back door with half his guards covering his retreat, the front entrance exploded inward. Armed police flooded in. Tactical gear, rifles raised. Drop your weapons, hands up. The remaining guards surrendered immediately. Guns clattered to the concrete. Everything went still. Kale's arms were still around me. Tayo still held Siwoo. The dog limped over, blood on its fur but alive. We'd survived. But Damon was gone, and he'd taken their daughter with him. An officer approached slowly, gun trained on Kyle and Tayo. You two are under arrest for the murder of Jihoon Park. Don't move. Kyle met my eyes one last time. Then he raised his hands. So did Tayo. Wait. I stood on shaking legs. They didn't do it. They were framed. Demon Choi killed Jihoon. The dog saw it. He's the witness. The officer looked at me like I was crazy. How would a dog be a witness? Maybe I was. But I wasn't letting them go down for a crime they didn't commit. Not after everything. I have proof, I lied. Let me explain. The officer stared at me. Proof? Before I could answer, Kyle moved. Fast. Disarmed the closest officer in one smooth motion. Tayo grabbed Siwoo and ran for the shattered window. Go! Kyle shouted at me. The dog bolted after Tayo, staying close to Siwoo. I didn't think. Just ran. Gunfire erupted behind us. Shouts. Chaos. We crashed through debris, out into the alley where our car still sat. Kyle threw himself into the driver's seat. I dove into the back with Siwoo. Tayo shoved the dog in beside us and barely got the door closed before Kale floored it. Weeks later, we sat in that same safe house. Siwoo played on the floor with the dog. Both of them recovered from the chaos. Kyle and Tayo worked at the kitchen table, building their case, planning their next move. The dog, the only witness to Jihoon's murder, lay protectively between Siwoo and the door, always watching, always ready. I watched them, this broken, impossible family. We'd become. The bond marks on my neck had healed into scars, permanent, linking me to two fugitives, two men I'd almost killed, two men who'd saved my life. Kyle looked up. What? Nothing, I said. Just thinking. About? About that stormy night, the knock of my door, the choice that changed everything. That I'd do it again, I said quietly. All of it. Tayo smiled. So would we. Outside, the world kept turning. Demons still had their daughter. We were still running, but we'd made a promise. We'd go back, prove their innocence, save their daughter. The dog would testify in whatever way they could make it happen, and we'd do it together. For now, that was enough. The end. Sometimes the most dangerous choice is opening your door to a stranger, but sometimes it's the only choice that saves you. Eugen had nothing. $47, a sick son, and a heart too kind for this cruel world. One stormy night, he opened his door to two fugitives and their dog. Didn't know they were wanted. Didn't know they'd been framed for murder. Didn't know their daughter had been stolen from them. He only knew they needed help. And that one choice, that single moment of kindness, changed all of their lives forever. This is a story about sacrifice, about broken people becoming family, about love that doesn't ask for permission, it just arrives in the middle of a storm, with blood on its hands and hope in its eyes. If this story moved you, hit that like button to support more emotional journeys like this one. Subscribe so you never miss the part 2. Drop a comment below. Would you have opened the door?